Welcome to Beyond Death, where we examine near-death experiences from people who say they have died, visited the other side, and came back. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout-out to the channel's 3 newest supporters, Evie Official, David Whalen, and David C. Agee. Thank you all for the super thanks. I do apologize if I have mispronounced any of your names. Today's NDE comes to us from Susie P, who speaks of receiving a message from golden angels prior to her visit to the afterlife, as well as what she experienced during her NDE. Let's get straight into it. Getting a clear message from the angels, which turned out to be accurate. As I was waiting to go into the scanner, something happened to me the like of which I had never experienced before or since. I had this feeling of a bright light engulf me, like I was having a visitation from a non-earthly being. I had a feeling of gold light come around me and a sense of being surrounded by a flock of golden angels. Stay with me at this point and open your mind to the possibility that this could happen. I had never experienced such a thing, and my own belief system was being stretched at this point. At the time, I heard a clear voice in my head, which sounded like the voice of my intuition. The voice told me clearly that I was not to worry, and that I was being looked after. There was no need to be concerned, as I would make it through this adventure in one piece. The clear and reassuring voice told me that I would have 3 scans. The first one would come back as a terrible result, and I was not to worry about it. The second scan would be better and show improvements. The third scan would be clear. I would write a book about it that will help inspire people around the world. I was having this storyline because I have a big platform and would write about it one day, just as I am doing right now. This part of the story was like a divine visitation with clear guidance on what would happen to me. I have no template or words to describe really how I felt. It seemed to me that I was visited by golden angels, and they were here to let me know that I was being looked after and that I would survive this experience. I will never forget the feeling of this experience, and it will likely stay with me for the rest of my life. From this moment on, I felt strong, courageous, and full of hope about what would unfold on this extreme journey I was facing. All fear had left my body, and I could not access the feelings of fear from this point on. This is a common feature of NDE experiences, I have since found out. Not having any fear means that life is lived differently. It allows me to live in a way that is exciting, full of adventure, and feeling the wonder like I felt as a child. Scan results. We had to wait a while to get the MRI scan results through. I found the waiting for results was fine now that I had been told what the outcome would be by my golden visitors. I remember that I did not feel nervous or worried during this time for 2 reasons. 1, I felt that I was being looked after by a higher force, and that it would turn out for the best. Secondly, I had no fear about dying. The concept of dying did not concern me, and if I was going to die, I was okay with that. So the only outcome that I faced was that I would live on earth or live on in peace as spirit, and I really was fine with either route. My hospital room had a terrace overlooking the beautiful old town of Ibiza. There was lovely music from outside floating around, which made its way into my room. Ibiza always has a great soundtrack, and my room was no exception at this time. I had lots of friends from the island dropping in and coming to see me. Many bought guitars, rugs to make a relaxing area, and comfy cushions. We made an Ibiza chill-out space on the terrace. I had so many visitors coming through that we had to set up a schedule of who was coming and when, so that the place didn't get overcrowded. There was such a good atmosphere in the room that even the nursing staff would come in smiling and asking if we were having a party. I said yes, we were. People around me were saying that I was taking the situation well, and seemed very positive for someone in this situation. I knew then that I was going to be okay and thrive because the angels had told me this, but I didn't expect others to have the same level of optimism or believe my out there story of a visit by angels telling me it was all going to be okay. The day I died and left my body. It was a Thursday morning around 8 a.m. Ibiza. I was laying in my bed and my room was empty of people, which was unusual. I was meditating, eyes closed, sitting upright in bed. I felt a strange sensation around my crown of my head. I felt like my spirit was lifting out of my body. I had the sense that a gray swirl of energy was gathering momentum at the top of my head and being sucked up towards the sky. It was a feeling like I have never experienced before. I asked myself, is my spirit trying to leave my body? I muscle tested the response, and it was a clear yes. At this point, I felt like I was going to pass to the next realm. This felt like a pivotal moment in my life. I began to breathe more deeply and review the highlights of my life. I had lived a good-intentioned life. I had made mistakes. There were errors that I would rectify if given my time again, and there was deep love for the people I cherished. Then a feeling set in that I had to stop myself, my spirit, from leaving my body. I got out of bed and went directly to the nurse's station. It was early in the morning, and I was on my own in my room. It was unusual to be on my own as I always had visitors, but this day it was early and before any visitors had arrived. As I went to the nurse's station outside my room in the ward, the nurses were gathered together for their daily meeting. They were talking through the patient's files and planning the day ahead. I rushed up to them and interrupted their meeting. "Please, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." "What's up, Susie?" said my favorite nurse. "I think I am going to die. Please keep an eye on me today. I am going to die soon. I can feel it." "You are not going to die, Susie. We will look after you and keep an eye on you to make sure you are okay. Please don't worry. We will be with you very soon," the gentle nurse said. The problem was I knew I was going to die any moment. The nurses in these oncology wards are the finest human beings. It is tough work to deal with cancer patients. They are caring for people who are losing the will to live, often vomiting with severe bouts, losing control at both ends of the body from the severity of the chemo treatment. To have a patient on the ward die was a regular occurrence. I am full of admiration and respect for these incredible people who do this as their vocation. They maintain a smile and a bubbly persona when all around them are suffering and going through immense challenges. The nurses came to me in my room. They did tests for my temperature, blood pressure, heart rate, and took blood. This was a regular procedure through the day and night at timed intervals. When I got back into bed, I felt a little more grounded, but my spirit was tugging at me and still trying to leave my body. As I sat upright on the bed, I felt a swoosh, and it was like my spirit was heading out of my body in a straight funnel upwards, going towards where I imagine heaven to be. What happened when I died? There was a period of time, I don't know how long, when I was out of my body and out of my mind and flying high. I left the bag of bones that is my flesh and body, and I became spirit, like a gaseous wisp of energy. Has it felt to me? This is similar feeling to when people talk about getting into the flow, by creatively and experiencing this sense of losing track of time and space. The next stage was my journey around the universe in the form of spirit. This was the part that looks like a Hollywood movie of when you die. As I died in this life and my spirit left me, my body lay motionless like a shell. I became one with all the stars around me. As I traveled out of my body, I felt a sense of oneness with everything. It was like flying around the cosmos, seeing the form that exists in life. Everything is made of energy and is all connected. I could see this clearly on the flight out of my body. I don't know how long I was gone for. Time was not something I could gauge. I got shown what the universe is like when you don't have a body. It feels like being in outer space with a sense of everything and feeling the sensation of immense love. I imagined this is what being an angel feels like. Later, I would find out. In this space on the other side, there is no time. I learned that everything is happening simultaneously, and time is something that we somehow make up. I remember clearly that I was given the choice about coming back into my body. I was asked, do I want to stay out of my body and out of my mind, or come back into my body? I remember asking to come back into my body while I was out of my body. I felt I had more to do here. My son was still young and would still need my shaping hand, and I knew that I had more work to do in this life, in this body. I knew I could come back, and that felt comforting while this was going on. It felt like I was gone only a short while, and yet so much happened in that time. The aspect I remember most vividly about leaving my body and getting shown around the universe is that I got to see how this is an energy-based universe where everything is connected to each other. I knew the theory of this already, as I had written a book about energy and life a few years early in my book Instructions for Happiness and Success. I had read the science and the ancient wisdom on the nature of the universe and understood it to be energy-based. I had read a lot of literature on quantum physics and quantum mechanics when I was researching to write my book on energy. I knew the theories and the modern understanding of consciousness and interconnectedness, but in this journey out of my body, I experienced what this looks like from the top looking down. I got to see this with my own eyes and understood that we are energy beings, emanating frequency and vibrating around the place. One shift in one part of the cosmos has an effect across the whole system. I saw how this works. I know this is hard to comprehend and understand. I am reporting what actually happened to me, and it is an event that will stay with me throughout this lifetime. To slip through the veil of life like that and then to come back again into the body is a rare and spectacular treat. I was courageous and had no fear about it. I have faith that we are all taken care of, and that there is life after death, just in a different form. I feel blessed that this event happened, and I got to experience all of these stories written here. Here I was being shown what the other side looks like and actually experiencing it while being able to return as a fully functioning human being. I remember being asked specifically if I wanted to come back into my body, and I knew this was a choice point. If I said yes, I would be reconnected with my body and begin life again. If I said no at this point, then there was no turning back, and I would have been lost forever, and there would be no return. I made my choice. It was easy. I had a young son who still needed me in his life. He was too young to lose his mom. I knew if I came back into my body, I could be healed. It was like the angels had told me. I could have a clear scan and come back into my body realigned and without the disease. This is indeed what happened. When I came back into my body, it was felt like a whoosh in entering back to the framework that is my body. When I opened my eyes again and came round, I felt quite different. Things looked different, my life looked different, my feelings felt different and clearer. The most noticeable thing I felt on coming back was that I had no fear. I could not access the emotion of fear even when I tried. It was like that fear program had been eradicated. I was literally fearless. I felt courageous and strong mentally. I felt wiser and more grateful for everything. I felt then that I should not speak about this event too widely, as people would think I had gone completely crazy, more so than I had been acting already. I didn't tell many people what had happened. I told my best friend and my friend Gavin in London what had happened. Gavin reminded me of the conversation we had while I was in hospital, and I was describing to him what heaven looked like. It's difficult to tell people that you have died and come back. There is disbelief and no reply that is easy to give if someone says this. I didn't want to tell the nursing staff about it, as I was trying my best to act healthy and sane so that I could get out of this place. I came back with no fear and full courage, installed as a new piece of upgraded software. I had the sense that my own mind operating software had received a major upgrade in that experience of leaving and coming back. Life would never be the same again because I suddenly started seeing the world differently. I felt more compassion for other people, slow to blame as others around me who were simply working with what they had to work with in terms of beliefs, programs, and experiences. I got to understand in this out-of-body flight how important intentions are. I saw firsthand out of my body that when you think a thought, set an intention, make a goal, all of the small matter in the universe comes together in a way to make that happen. An example of this is when I set the intention to come back into my body when I was out of it. I set the intention, and then in a flash I was back in my body. I had this very comforting knowing that when coming back into my body, I had arrived configured in a way to heal completely. Going out of my body and coming back in was the healing. I needed to create miraculous results that even the doctors could not understand. This exit and re-entry would prove the Golden Angel story correct. I would completely heal from advanced brain tumor. I knew I had more to do in this life, and I loved my young son so much and wanted to see him grow up and make his way in the world. I also knew that if I got back into my body, the angel story would become my true reality creation. I had to be fearless for the next stage to get through all the things that would happen next. Perhaps we have more choice over when we die than we may realize. I remember my mom when she was ready to leave her body. She was in her 80s and very ill, was just about to go, and then was told that her granddaughter Jo would be coming back from Italy a few days later. She held on those few days for Jo to return, and then she passed peacefully after being able to see her granddaughter one final time when she got back home from her travels. I remember realizing at my mother's deathbed that she chose to stay a little longer and put off the day of passing so that she could see her family one last time. Once I decided to stay with this life, I knew I would be healed. I was absolutely certain about this. I knew that I didn't need more tests, blood tests, injections, or pills. I knew I was coming back healed. I had learned about the importance of beliefs and intentions from my work with Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, theta healing, and the other fields of mind science I had been studying in depth. Now, I got to have first-hand experience without having a body to know how powerful this really is as a human capability. Note from Beyond Death. I have included a link to Susie's near-death experience, which includes a brief question and answer session she took following it. Although she mentioned several times being an author of a book, she failed to give her surname, so I have been unable to locate links to those. If any viewer knows a link for more information, please share. Until next time, stay blessed.